Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this latest edition of RE404, where I take old stories I've narrated and update them to modern audio standards. This particular story is called Science Fiction, written by Empty Space. That doesn't make any sense. Lieutenant General Marcuson perked up at hearing his guest muttering something along those lines. Normally, he'd assume that it was just a translator problem. But when your guest is an ambassador from a recently contacted species that could probably win a major war with you, it was a good idea to keep them happy. The ambassador from the Kali has been looking at the manifest of what humanity has to offer in exchange for something on the Kali's list that Damon was reading in another room. Marcuson didn't know what was on that list, but given the hushed tone she took talking about it, humanity is probably in for a deal of its life. Today, the ambassador was looking at the cultural manifest, which has parts that were irritating to explain even to other humans. So Marcuson was hoping this eventuality would never happen. Even still, he leaned over to him and asked, which part? The ambassador motioned to a specific part of the tablet that he was reading off of. Science fiction. It's oxymoronic. Science, by definition, is made of verifiable fact. If it's fictional, it's just not science. How can you have fictional science? Marcuson decided not to inform an ambassador of pseudoscience. Science fiction isn't a type of science, it's a type of fiction. Novels written by great authors about things that aren't necessarily true. But these types revolve around advanced technologies beyond what we currently have. Wormhole FTL travel, food replicators. If you had these things, why would they not be in the technology manifest? Though you withholding your most impressive technological feats from us? Shit. No, of course not. We don't have those things. We can't do them. Not yet. But the authors that specialize in science fiction write about them. Why? That single word, why, has been a tricky part of Marcuson's life ever since his first child turned 2. It was around then that he realized there was never a good answer to why, since there was almost always an infinite number of answers. That moment, besides being the one where he first understood the meaning behind "because I said so," is what primarily shaped his answer. Marcuson shrugged. I'm not sure. I can guess. Please do. Money. Authors of all times sell their works, and people who enjoy reading them will buy them. The ambassador considered this answer for a moment. Then I assume this science fiction is the most popular type of fiction you have. It would take a lot of people buying it to make that kind of drivel worth writing. No, not really. It's only a half of the 4th most popular. Then why do you write it? Remembering something from his own childhood, he motioned for the ambassador to come to the window with him. From the lounge of the final approach, most of the Saharan desert was visible, and a grand sunrise was coming behind it. But the earth wasn't what Marcuson wanted to show the ambassador. You see those guns on the side of that ship there? The ambassador looked at them. I do not believe I saw guns in the technology manifest. Because the guns aren't the technology. On the ground, we have machine guns with rotating barrels, so the heat generated by firing it would melt any individual barrel. In hard vacuum, though, there is no air to cool off the barrels, so that design doesn't work when we mount them to the side of a starship. I failed to see the connection. I'm getting to it. The solution we came up with, that I'm sure is on the tech manifest, is called electrofluid cooling shroud tech. EFCSs are just one barrel surrounded by water or some other fluid like it. As the weapon fires, the barrel heats up and the fluid rises in temperature with it. Then the fluid is pumped through a series of pipes that extract the heat energy from the water as electricity, and the now cool water is returned to the barrel shroud where it can collect more in the barrel's heat. After 5 seconds of continuous firing, the weapon powers its own pumps and starts contributing to the power supply of the ship at large. I still fail to see how this is relevant. We're almost there. These guns are usually called up by pretty much everyone Farringer guns. Do you know who Farringer was? The weapons inventor. The first person to put together a working prototype. No. That was Jessica Spitzlov. Farringers are named after my grandmother's grandfather, Mike R.M. Farringer. He was a science fiction writer, and the first person to have the idea that would later become the Farringer guns, writing about a similar weapon in his book The Long Sight. Marcuson turned to his guest, ignoring the window now. That's why we write science fiction. Inventors build and create, but they get their inspiration from the people who dream about how the world could be. There was a dream about portable communication devices that could allow you to talk with someone miles and miles away, wherever you or they may be. And not 40 years later, they existed. Now there's a dream about FTL engines that can send you across the galaxy in an instant. And because nothing captures the imagination better, I bet something close to it will exist within our lifetimes. When the nations of the world still saw people as different skin tones, as needing to be separated, it was a science fiction show that gave inspiration to many people by portraying people of varied colors working together in harmony. When technology advanced, it was because some sci-fi author had dreamed of it, and someone wanted to make it real. As the look of understanding crept over the ambassador's face, Marxan couldn't help but smile. In my opinion, science fiction bears the most responsibility for pushing us ahead. No one can progress without dreaming. End of story. Story number 2. Wanderers, written by Parabellum 2077. There is a quote from a Terran hundreds of years ago, before they called themselves such. They still adequately describe them today. For all its material advantages, a sedentary life has left us edgy, unfulfilled. Even after 400 generations in villages and cities, we haven't forgotten. The open road still softly calls, like a nearly forgotten song of childhood. As the Terrans continue to spread out from Terra and the Sol system, they do so in decidedly unexpected patterns. They still create cities and colonize worlds, most certainly, but for some reason, they always seem to wind up in the strangest of places, carving out homes in the asteroid belts of solar systems and the great rings of gas giants. Where other races simply strip mine with drones, they create hidden metropolises seemingly thriving in the harsh conditions as if drawn to them. I can't explain this phenomenon, nor has anyone else been able to. Terran or otherwise, each time I arrive at one of these way stations in the extremes of the black, I'm invited in warmly and welcomed as a friend by these combination scientist, engineer, explorer thrill-seekers that seem to define their species. And as I break bread with them and enjoy a warm meal before continuing on my way, I ask them, why? Why do you make your homes and live your lives here, of all places? Each time I'm given a shrug or something of the like in response, with a short answer, because we needed to. It's one of these things that seems to set the Terrans apart throughout their history. Long before they ever reached the stars, when they were still colonizing and conquering their own world, a branch of their own species, the Polynesians, colonized their great Pacific Ocean much the same way, hopping from island to island, settling it, and the next generation continuing on in ships handed down from the last, to find the next island and the next. I believe it is something integral to Terrans, perhaps hidden within their own genome. Without it, they would not truly be Terran. For every inhabited rock and mass of ice I have found, there are another 5 or so that I have seen abandoned. Nav lights and landing clamps powered down, left like one might leave a beloved home they may return to. Nothing would have happened to them. No great disaster that killed its inhabitants. The next discovery, the next sight, the next beautiful view, the next thrill. It simply called out to them, and they continued onward on their unspoken and unknown quest to let nothing in this universe go unwitnessed. As I spend more time with the Terrans, and as they become more common sight in our shared galaxy, I can feel their passion and love for the unknown rubbing off on me. I can feel the itching sensation beneath my coat and skin, the restlessness of my muscles when I stay somewhere for what begins to feel like too long. I can feel the desire for new experiences, sights, sounds, and feelings. And when I move on and find that which is new, it is the closest thing to magic that I believe one can experience. There are many different species in the galaxy. The word Terran means so many different things. To those who have experienced their military might, like those of my own species, the Volker, Terran has become synonymous with conqueror, pirate, and eventually our most trusted ally. To those who have experienced their industrial might, their clunky and inelegant but powerful and hardy structures and starships, they are prolific builders. To those who have been surprised to find them having spontaneously taken up residence in hulled warships and derelict stations, they are survivors. But to me, they are above all else wanderers, seeking out the unknown with the undefinable desire to be some kind of galactic witness, to leave nothing in the galaxy unseen, unheard, and untouched. They are here to stay, and our galaxy, and maybe one day others, are all the better for it. End of story. I'd greatly like to thank our Tier 5 channel members, Caspar Arnholt, John Creighton, Manatharia, 050, Dragzoon WRE, and Elijah Silvercross. Thank you very much.